We are live with Tad Johnson. Give everybody a few minutes to get in here. Tad is up at beautiful Lake Vermillion this evening. And it's actually probably lighter up there than it is here down in the cities because you're way up north.
Yeah, it's there's the lake.
Nice.
Yeah, last time I was here, we were fishing together in a team.
Nice, yeah. The last ever Bass Nation Northern Divisional. And now I guess this is the rebirth this year. So I'm going back, but you're not.
I know. I'm bumming.
Did you fish Island?
No, I couldn't make it up there. I decided to have back surgery instead.
Yeah, it's a decent excuse. Better than most people's excuse of I don't want to go there because that place sucks.
Right. I would have liked to go back. I actually fished with your old man up there last time. I drew him day 2.
The winning day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to see his secret spot.
Yeah. We sat there all day.
Yeah, so when we were up there, that was the 3rd year in a row that Minnesota won the Northern Bass Nation, Northern Regional. So we won the boat 3 years in a row. With my old man was on the team that went out to South Dakota, to wherever on the Missouri River out there that won it. And then I went on the team that went to Indiana, and then we were both on the team that went to Vermillion. So that was a good run. So hopefully this team can put it together and we can back it up again and restart the tradition for Minnesota of locking down the Northern Division. And I'm sure Wisconsin will definitely have something to say about that for sure. So
yeah, I like your guys' chances though.
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, it's always nice to start off on your home water to get things kicked off. But I mean, the guys in Wisconsin should catch them. They did well. There's some guys in their team that were up there. They'll be back again. So I expect some good competition from mainly Wisconsin. But I mean, there's a lot of good hooks from a lot of states. So
yeah, Iowa. I've actually talked to a couple of the guys from Iowa that are coming back up that were up here when we were here last time and fished for Iowa, and they're pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're coming from anywhere except for Wisconsin or Michigan, this is a huge fishing upgrade for you. To come to Minnesota. Right. I mean, you fished a handful of divisional teams. There was nothing worse than going to Indiana or Ohio in August and September and just complete grinders. Some of the worst, toughest fishing, which makes when you think you have a tough tournament here, it prepares you mentally, and you're like, this isn't so bad.
Yeah, no, we are truly spoiled in this state. I mean, you start going anywhere else, and you realize how lucky we are when it comes to just numbers of fish.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I attribute some of my success last year on Island to fishing those just absolute grinders in those other states all those years, and that just didn't really faze me. I was totally way more mentally prepared than probably 95% of the guys fishing the state last year based on that. So
yeah, no, I really think in those grinders, I mean, people start just going through the motions and they check out mentally, and that's where I don't know, I think that a lot of guys, like yourself, it gives you a bigger advantage because you stay focused the whole time. It's a 5-fish mentality, and you're just trying to get 5 bites and convert on them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tad, what are you doing up in Vermillion?
I'm up here practicing for the Champions Tour. It starts on Friday. We got up here Sunday night about 9 o'clock. So I put in a few days now, and just up here getting reacclimated with it. I've never fished Every Fish Counts tournament on this lake because I missed the one last year. So it's a little bit different strategy that I'm having to deal with. Normally I'm up here just looking for, if I could get 10 decent bites in a day, I'm having a good day, where in this format, that's just not going to cut it. I don't care how big they are.
Unless it's just gruelingly tough.
Yeah.
Which probably is not the case. How is the fishing? Like, well, how would you sum it up? Obviously, you don't want to give away the details of what your game plan is, but how, for people that are just interested in what's happening on Vermilion, like, what would you kind of sum up? Like, fish are deep, shallow, scattered.
Man, they're kind of all over. You can pretty much catch them doing anything. And what I'm trying to figure out right now is what can I do to be most efficient? I mean, because you have the like the snag factor. Obviously you throw a drop shot out here and you're going to get hung up a lot, and that just does nothing but cost you time. And
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier if you're just looking for 5 good bites to put up and deal with that. But like out here, I'm having a tough time with that. Fishing deep, just trying to be efficient. So really trying to put together a game plan of what's going to be most efficient, on catching them, converting them, and keeping a bait in the water.
Yeah. So Chad Edding says, "What up?" I think Chad's going to be up there. Rumor has it he's going to be doing some multimedia work.
Yeah, it'd be good to see Chad.
So, and this is every fish counts, 1 pound minimum for this format.
Yep, every fish counts, 1 pound minimum. Largemouth, smallmouth. The whole lake's going to be in play, so they'll tell us how they're going to split it the night before.
If they split it.
Yeah, if they split it. Right. So that's when they'll tell us what we have to work with. But right now they said the whole lake's in play. So,
right.
it fishes pretty big. And like I said, you can catch them doing a lot of different things right now. It's hard, duplicating it over and over again.
Yeah. What is it, 50 boats?
Yeah, I think they're either at 49 or 50. I think they're really close to being full, if not full.
Right. And it's like 2 4-hour sessions, right? AM and a PM. They do a little kind of check-in, lunch break.
Yeah, they let us go at 6:45, but lines don't go in until 7, so we get 15 minutes to run. Fish from 7 to 11, have to be back at check-in at 11, and they give us an hour lunch break. They let us go at noon, and we have to stop fishing at 4, but we have to be back by 4:15.
Right. Cool. And you're fishing for 10 G's? Is that right?
If it's full, it's 12 grand for first.
12 grand. Nice.
Yeah.
And I think it's Friday, right? The tournament's Friday.
Yeah, Friday. Yep.
And I think they'll have some kind of coverage on classicbass.com if people want to follow along, right? Like that's their normal thing. Yeah. They'll have some kind of live leaderboard. They'll have some video check-ins, that type of stuff. So
yeah, they'll do the.
It's not quite like Bassmaster Live, but they do have some coverage of what's going on.
Yeah, they have the LiveWell app that you can follow along with either on the app, or you can go to the Classic Bass website page and just follow along the actual leaderboard. And then they'll have a few boats out there doing live coverage, streaming live, and it it's always based on service too.
Yeah, so like you can see that little app up there, it's not out of focus, but the real LiveWell app.
Yeah.
You can follow along there. Batterman says he thinks that maybe you got the Rona because you're wearing sleeves.
It's I wasn't all day today, but it's cooled down a little bit at night up here. It's cooler at night, and it's really only been getting in the 70s up here, so it's definitely cooling down up here a little more than at home.
Nice. Yeah, Tom just joined in. Yeah, we're talking about the Classic Bass Champions Tour. It's a kind of an MLF style tournament up here in Minnesota that has a circuit. So 50 boats fishing for 12 grand. Every fish counts, 1 pound. So that's what we're talking about. And they're up on Lake Vermillion. So, and you've actually won one of these before. What was it, 2 years ago? You won one on Gull?
3 years ago, the first year they did it. Last 2 years, I've been just fighting health issues. I've had knee surgery and back surgery back-to-back years. But that first year, I won the one on Gull, and it was it's intense. I mean, it's almost more stressful when you're leading and watching them just catch you, and you get pretty stressed out because, when you're not catching them and they are, and it's just like a pack of wolves chasing you. So you have to adjust all the time really quickly.
I've been on both ends of it. Like I fished a couple tournaments first season and the second season, and I had like my first tournament was my very best one, and I was leading for part of the morning and right in the thick of things, and then I kind of just held on all day to finish like third. Um, so that was kind of fun. And then I've had some other ones where I just like did not make the right adjustments and fell behind early, and then just and like there is like to me there is like it can be really exciting or it can be the worst. Like at some point, you know what I mean? Like I haven't watched all of yours, but I'm assuming you fished enough of these now that you've had at least one where you're like, well, mathematically, there's no way I can catch 50 pounds in the last hour. You know what I mean? Like, where it's just like, well, this is over. Like we're in a 5 fish tournament, it's almost never really over until like the last 10 minutes because all you need is 5 bites. So you can pull up a milfoil clump or a magic dock or a duckweed mat or a rock pile, and it could happen, right? Like, but at a certain point, like it's like, well, they've caught 70 fish and I've caught 18. There's no longer possible. So it can go both ways. It can be the most exciting and it can be the most uneventful at the same time. So it can go both ways.
Yeah, I've been on both sides of it too, man. It's you know, it's one of those deals where I actually wrote an article for Classic Bass about the differences between them. And I mean, when you get behind, it's really hard to catch up. You know, I mean, it's like you just can't have any downtime. And you know, on a 5 fish limit, like you said, you can win it in the last 20 minutes. I mean, you can't do that in these. You have to constantly be catching them.
Yeah, unless I mean there are some occasional tournaments like last year or 2 years ago on the Lax, it only took like 30 pounds to win, or like sometimes it's really off and you just doesn't take much, but then usually the whole field struggles. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if you fall behind in the first period, you better come out of that second half like scorching. But like if you don't start catching them by about an hour in, you're like, well, this ain't happening.
Yeah. In a lake like this, it's really hard to come back on. I mean, it's not like, like on Gull where you can pull up on a school and catch them every cast for an hour, and make up some ground. Out here, right now, the way it's fishing, I mean, it's hard to catch more than a couple fish off a spot.
Right. For sure. So what kind of, I mean, what do you guess? What do you think the winner's going to have after 8 hours?
I would guess this year it'll probably be 60, 70 pounds. I think last year Lightner won it with like 64.
Sure.
It's just, this lake is a little more challenging, I think, for just this format, just because it doesn't fish like, a lot of Minnesota lakes. You can get healthy really quick if they come up schooling, but that's like such a random deal, and it can just happen anywhere, but they're gone as fast as they show up. So, I mean, you can't really rely on that.
Like if you pull up on a spot in the morning and they're schooling, you can set yourself up pretty nice for the day for sure. So
yeah, you could put 20 pounds in the boat pretty quick, but it's such a random deal. I mean, you've been up here enough. It's just like, it's magical when it happens, but you don't know how to time it or, be there when they're doing it or what even causes it.
Or you pull up on one hump and then your buddy pulls up on the next hump and they go school there and then you catch nothing.
Yeah.
And you can see them just absolutely crushing them and you're just like 20 yards away going, I knew I should have went to that one.
Yep.
So I know there was one question on Instagram. Want to know tell us about your Vexus now, because you run the 2080 Vexus, right?
Yeah, I run the 2080. It's an aluminum hull.
How long is the 2080?
20 feet 4 inches. So I've been running it. I got it in February of 19, and the very first place I ever took it was Toledo Bend, and I mean, it was it's 180,000 acres. Just a huge lake. And, I mean, I've loved it. Especially fishing around here where, we have speed limits, my boat will go 65, some of those other boats are quite a bit faster, but I mean, at getting up off on plane off of idle, I can pass 6 boats, before they're on plane. So, you go to a place like Tonka and, I can at takeoff pass a bunch, and then you hit the narrows. Then when you get on plane, I can pass a bunch more there, and everybody can only go so fast. So, I mean, it gets on planes so fast.
Yeah, and then so what do you got on the back of that?
I got a Merc Pro XS 200.
Is it 250 on that?
200.
200.
Yep.
So 20-foot boat with a 200, you're still going mid 60s. That's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you could see it.
Yeah.
It's starting to get dark out, but yeah. Yeah, the thing's been all over Lake Vermillion. What's that?
We should have asked that question 20 minutes ago before it was pitch dark. Logan wants to know, how does it handle in rough water?
Really good. So the one thing that I've had is to this day, I've yet to have a wave come over the bow, either when I'm on plane running or I'm up on the trolling motor. And all the weight is in the back, so it keeps the nose up. You know, it bounces up right away. So, I mean, I had it on leech in the Champions Tour last year. And I mean, I kept up with everybody. I had it on Toledo Bend and some pretty nasty stuff in the Bassmaster Open. You know, I'm coming from a 520, and I mean, you know, it's not as heavy of a boat, but to me,
right,
all the advantages outweigh any disadvantages I've had.
Have you got a chance to check out any of the glass Vexes to compare them or not?
I just so Peters has one.
Right.
We've been hanging out with him last couple nights, and yeah, so really the first time seeing one on the water. I've seen him in the showroom, but today was really the first day I've been able to see one on the water, and it's his front deck is huge. I mean, it's insane how big it is.
So would you say that Peters is overcompensating, or?
I didn't say it, you did.
Oh. Chad asked, yeah, I got my, so about 2 weeks ago, I got my power head replaced on mine. So I finished break-in just before Leech Lake. So yeah, it worked pretty good. Got me through Leech Lake, back and forth from Walker to Boy Bay 2 days in a row. So far, so good. So Batterman says, how does it run when you don't put gas in it? Is there something you want to tell us?
Yeah, I on Sunday ran out of gas at the Prairie Lake tournament. My head was 100% in coming up here, and this gets such good gas mileage. I didn't even I don't really think about it because it's so rare I have to put gas in it. And Pryor was kind of a grinder, so I was running all over the place, and yeah, ran out of gas coming into weigh-in.
Nice. But you made it?
Yeah, made it. Big shout out to Pete and Bremer. They stopped and towed me in. So 3 Pete and Bremer.
Sweet. Running out of gas is good luck. When I was fishing the regionals in Indiana, I ran out of gas twice on day 2 in the same day. And I made it to nationals. So I think it's, you never want to put too much gas in your boat.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so here's the story behind that. So that was the last year that Old Milwaukee was sponsoring the Bass Nation. So they had a crew there playing games, handing out free beer. And so we were all just hanging out at this resort, and it was 20 minutes to the nearest gas station. And I just completely spaced, didn't think I needed gas. And I got out in the morning and I was like, it's a little low, but I think I'll be okay. And a little bit older boat, the gas gauge has always been a little wonky. And I was like, as long as the needle's moving, there's still usually plenty of gas in there. And then we're cruising around, and I'm fishing with the Michigan leader. And I caught a couple fish the first day, so we're both kind of in it. And all of a sudden, we're moving from spot to spot, and we've caught a few fish. And I'm like, boy, the needle stopped moving. This is a little sketchy. I don't know. So I was like, we better head over towards the gas dock and just put a little in. And literally, it was like under a bridge in a no wake area, and I'm like idling up, and I get like 15 yards away, and I literally run out of gas, and I run into the dock because I can't stop because it just the motor's wet. And then so then I put like I don't know, I put like $15 in or $20 in or something like that at marina prices, and then like we go fish, and then literally coming in, rounding the bend about a quarter mile, half mile from the landing, all of a sudden, again. I was like, ah. So, and I've been messing with that guy all day. So I was like, start bagging your fish. And he's like, haha, good one. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm not messing around this time. Start bagging your fish up. Like, and I was like, we start bagging fish, and I'm like waving the net and waving at people because like there's people going by. Somebody pulled over. We hopped in, put a sign on. I wrote a beef jerky like on the bag and put it in the windshield, because they want you to leave a note, and then like put the talons down so if it drifted, hopefully it would catch on something, and got the fish weighed in, and it's pretty crazy.
That's funny.
You might have to go inside where the light is, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to see you.
I was just thinking that. It got dark pretty quick.
What's up, fishing today? Thanks for joining. Now, hey, all you hook setters that are watching, just to check out Tad and harass him, make sure you hit that like button, that thumbs up down there, so we can get a few more eyeballs on beautiful Tad tonight. So I know there's probably like 20 just watching, not saying anything. So help us out here. Now look at him, smells glory. So yeah, so you got Friday, you got the Champions Tour, and then you get a few days off, and then I'll probably see you up at Whitefish for the Bass Nation TOC.
Yeah,
you've been out on Whitefish at all? Did you go up in pre-practice? Have you been up there within the last year?
We went up there. The hook setters went up there as a club last year. Actually, I drew my son Hunter for that one, and yeah, I didn't pre-fish for it. We drove up there that morning actually, and I think I finished 4th or 5th. Caught him pretty good. He had a pretty good bag too. Just went to some old, spots that I'd fished in the past. But we had some good bags. It fished pretty good.
Was that in August?
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to fish better in August than it traditionally would have when we would go up there Labor Day, September. Like, I feel like the bite's going to be a little more consistent. They're going to be a little more locked into their summer deal. So I think overall, it'll fish a little better than some of the August or the September TOCs in the past. But that's just my thoughts.
I think so too. I think, they'll be locked in on their summer patterns, and, they'll be a little bit more predictable.
So I don't know. I went up there for like 2 hours the last day before cutoff just to spend a little time idling and break the motor in. And I checked a few things on the west side of the lake on the big whitefish. I kind of felt like there was less grass than I remember in places.
That's
any of that where you felt like the grass wasn't as good as it used to be there.
I tell you what, that's been a theme in a lot of places I've been this year. It seems like a lot of the lakes I've gone to, it's not growing, and I don't know why. Prior, it's not even close to what it normally is. I haven't really spent much time on Tonka, but I've heard a lot of guys tell me the same story out there.
So it might just be a seasonal thing that, like, the demise of whitefish, you're saying?
I don't know. It seems to be a common theme that I'm hearing from a lot of people on lakes, that it just doesn't seem to be growing like it has in the past.
Which is weird because we had a decent amount of snow, but I didn't feel like it was like crazy snow. And I saw it was normal. I felt like it wasn't like super late. It wasn't super early. Like, I'm not sure why.
I know.
Super early. I don't know. God, you're supposed to know these things. You're supposed to have the answers. You're like the seasoned veteran.
Well, I wish I did. I just know that for some reason it doesn't seem like the grass is growing on a lot of lakes this year, and I don't know if it's the poisons they're using, or I don't know. I was just on Pryor on Sunday, and this year compared to last year, the year before, it's just there's areas that are normally just loaded with coontail, and there's hardly any.
So you got any nuggets? How are you going to attack whitefish? Or what do you think? Like, how do you think it's going to set up? Like, do you think the smallies are going to dominate? Do you think it's going to be more largemouth? Do you think deep?
I think it'll be largemouths. You know, the smallies, I think you'll see, you know, a couple big bags of smallies, but I think it's hard to duplicate that up there, you know, in a multi-day tournament. I think the largemouth will be more predictable. But, you know, there's a lot of guys that know that lake really well. So, you know, there could be, you know, people that come in with 2 big bags of smallies, but I'm sure I'm gonna go for largemouth. I'm gonna, you know, fish typical summer pattern stuff. You know, try to catch them out deep, but you know, if I struggle with that, then you know, get up and do the shallow thing.
All right, Tom. I'm going to try a different setting on my audio. Let me know if that's any better. So, if it's not, we'll try the next setting. So just let me know. I mean, what do you think? Like in the past, I feel like when we were in September, 27, 28, like just under 30 pounds would typically take to win it. Do you think that's going to hold true in August? Or do you think it's going to be a little higher?
It'll probably be about the same to win, but I'll bet you there's more competing bags up at that same level.
Sure. So like a little more to make
a lot of,
the high end weight will be similar.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
So what do you got after Whitefish? You got a couple more Champions Tour events, and what's the rest of your summer look like tournament wise?
Yeah, so literally from Whitefish, we'll go home. My niece is getting married, so we'll be doing that, and then I leave for the river on Sunday, and then I'll be down there for the Champions Tour.
All right, and then so you have how many Champions Tour events?
There's 3, and then the championship. So then the beginning of September, we'll be up at Pokegama, and that's on a Thursday, and then Thursday night, they're going to announce where the championship is. We'll fish Friday morning for the guys that qualify.
Oh,
and it'll be somewhere in Grand Rapids.
Nice. So you're supposed to go up there and then like just fish?
Yeah. So we'll fish Pokegama Thursday, and then Thursday night they'll tell us whoever qualified where we're fishing Friday.
So you said you do get a day of practice, or you don't?
Nope, no practice.
I feel like that fits your style if you make it.
Yeah, I actually like it. I think I'll like just going to a lake, and especially, you know, something that probably none of us have ever fished. You know, there's not that many guys that'll make it, so they can go to, you know, there's hundreds of lakes up there they could go to. So, I mean, you know, just show up and go fish, and I mean, I'm down for that.
Yeah, I absolutely would be a lot more interested in this style event if it was a really restricted practice or no practice, like where they're like, you get 1 day, no information, day of practice, or show up in this town and then we're gonna go fishing. Like, cause like 50 boats, you can fish just about anywhere, and I mean, there's a lot of places you can fish for 50 boats.
Yeah.
But like, I've always struggled with the high entry fee and the unlimited practice and not much restrictions on information. Like it's you pretty much got to put a week in if you're gonna like hang in that tour for sure. So
yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, I got up here Sunday night, but a lot of the guys were up here, you know, Thursday. Some of them came here for the Blackfish, but you know, they'd been up here since mid last week.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of the Blackfish, Connor says, what are your thoughts on the Blackfish? Neither one of us fished it. 5 fish, 19 pounds to win. It's a pretty solid bag for 5 fish. Not amazing, but a pretty decent bag. I think it took like 16 something to get a check, and it was just kind of everybody was packed in that 15 to 16 pounds, I think. So, did you hear anything about it, or?
Yeah, it wasn't your typical, July Tonka, flipping tournament. It didn't seem like, I mean, yeah, that one big bag, and then, a bunch of 15, 16 pound bags. I mean, that's kind of like the old days out there, before people really started catching them. So I think it just has a lot to do with the grass. It's just not really growing like it was. And, so it's really kind of throwing a curveball to some guys.
And I think in general, observation was it wasn't dominated by the Denny's guys or the guys that fish Tonka all the time. Like, some of them did okay, but not like you'd expect. There was a lot of people that don't fish a lot of tournaments out there, or not, fishing the regular circuits, that did pretty well in that tournament. So,
yeah, and I'm sure they went outside the box a little bit.
Kevin says, "Where's your custom cutoff jersey?"
It's too cold up here.
It's under the sweatshirt. That's what.
Yeah. Hey, ask Kevin how to go last year. Did someone beat you by one spot or something?
Yeah, who's all on the team for Prior Lake this year, Tad?
That'd be Jay, Weta, Rebar, and myself.
So, like, Kevin's like the alternate or something in case one of you guys gets sick?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
If Weta doesn't make it, or if Rebar doesn't make it home from the open, although now that open's canceled, so he'll be up there. So, yep.
Nice. Oh, we just lost one. I think Kevin left. Must numbers just went down. Oh, so what do you? I mean, of the events left on the Champions Tour, which one are you looking forward the most?
Probably the river. I like it up here. I like fishing it a lot, but I kind of grew up fishing the river. Especially Pool 4 and Lake Pepin. I grew up in Hampton, so it was kind of some of the closest water we had. So that time of year, it's gonna fish pretty tough, but the difference is a 1 pounder weighs rather than a 14-incher. And so, I mean, to me, that's kind of a game changer, because there's so many of those 12 to 13 3/4 that normally don't matter. And in this tournament, they're going to be really important.
Right. So, favorite thing from Greg's Meats?
What's that?
What's your favorite thing from Greg's Meats? Isn't it Greg's?
Yeah, Greg's. Just about everything.
We used
they're the deal.
Hey, even when we lived up in Columbia Heights, we would get our venison processed. We'd get our sticks made at Greg's back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, they're awesome.
So what's been the best for you this year, summertime fishing? Like, what's been the deal? Like, what have you been catching them on? What has been your kind of what have you been leaning on this summer?
The one thing that I've never really done much of till this year is throw a Nico rig, and I've been throwing that quite a bit. And I'm sure you'd catch them on a Jig Worm just as good, or doing the same thing. But I've been throwing that quite a bit, where in the past I just I'd always throw a Jig Worm. So
sure. Are you throwing that on the spinner pole or a bait caster?
Actually, I've been throwing it on both, but probably more on a spinning rod. But I do have a beefed up one I throw too.
Sure. So I was thinking, like, when you said, what can I throw? It would be efficient in the rocks at Vermillion, and that's what popped in my head.
Yeah. They don't snag very much.
Smallies don't eat them, though, so it's not important.
Right. So it doesn't matter.
Can't believe there's not more hook-setter questions. This is ridiculous. Oh.
But yeah, the Pokegama, that'll be a fun one too, because we were up there last year. It was right after my back surgery, and we went up just to you know, be there and hang out. And I mean, that one was pretty exciting. Leitner won it, you know, basically in the last 5 minutes. You know, there was, you know, Figgy and Connor, and they were all just neck and neck, and then he caught that 5-pounder literally in the closing minutes. And I mean, there's so many things you can do on that lake too. So I'm looking. I mean, I was bummed that Pryor got cut out, because that would have been a good one in this.
So
schedule.
it's just a three regular season now this year.
Yeah. Yep. So they changed it with COVID. Originally, the river was going to be in June, and Pryor was going to be in June. They moved the river to August, and they cut Pryor out.
Right, and they cut out Wisconsin too.
Yeah, they switched that with Pokegama. So
really, all three venues are mixed bag, smallies and largies, like pretty legitimate, like not quite half and half fisheries, but like where you can legitimately contend with both on any three of those. So that's kind of interesting, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just excited. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, are from up north, and, you know, are from, you know, to get them down. And I felt like the schedule was so diverse, you know, the river, a metro lake, you know, a Wisconsin lake, and then a northern Minnesota lake.
Yeah, if I would have known, like, in the schedule would have worked out, this like 3-tournament schedule actually like sounds pretty cool, but it's much different than what it was in the beginning.
Right.
Surprise in your live well on Sunday? Can we even talk about it, or is it like,
no?
That's too R-rated for this show?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just say I was surprised when I opened my live well Sunday morning.
Nice.
And I didn't notice it until I put the third fish in.
So AP Fishing says, what's the furthest north both you guys have fished for bass? For me, Rainy Lake, I guess, would be the furthest north I've fished for bass.
The furthest north?
In Minnesota border. What's that?
The furthest north we fished for bass? Yeah, I fished Eagle Lake in Canada. But Rainy, you know, the Fort Francis tournament, I've done that one. So, yeah. Vermillion, you feel like you're almost in Canada up here.
Yeah. See, and Rebar says, yes, I really wanted to hear from the hook setters. That's Connor says, Rich, have you ever fished O'Dowd Lake, and how did you do on it? Caught 2 the other day flipping wood and dragging rocks. Yeah. I'm sure you fished O'Dowd a fair amount. It's been probably a year since it's been out there, but it's a good lake, but it's been getting hammered lately. I think it's on a little bit of a down cycle. I mean, there's still big fish in it and still good fish, but I think it's feeling the pressure of being known as a pretty good little lake in the metro. Typically, there's a good milfoil flipping bite. Typically, there's a good rock dragon bite. Certain times of the year, there's pretty good frog bite out there in some of the back bays. It's got bigs in it. I mean, I've seen some monsters come out of that, like 7+ pounders for sure. But I haven't been out there lately, and I've heard it's been a little bit of a grind. I don't know, have you been out there lately, or?
I haven't been out there in 2 years. I used to fish it a lot just because it was, you know, a small lake. And I mean, God, you go out there in the fall and you'd have a legitimate shot at catching a 7-pounder. You know, not many people knew about it, but once it started getting out there, now it can't hold up to a whole bunch of fishing pressure just because, you know, it is small, and, you know, it's not like you're fishing them real deep or anything.
Yeah, I haven't been out there this year, but I would imagine most of the boat ramps have been pretty full, and I bet you that ramp is just full every day. Like,
yeah, I would think so. I'm sure some of the hook setters have been out there, you know, but I haven't been out there in 2 years.
Yeah, same. So I would say it'll probably fish tough a little bit. People will leave it alone, and then a couple of years it'll start popping off again. So it's good. Like, Logan asks, how has Pool 4 and 5 Mississippi been fishing? So I went and helped Bill fish one day out there. I did a video that was that topwater smallie video. We did really well on barely keeper to not quite keeper smallies that moved. But but there was a big surge of water back then, and it like did kind of ruined some grass, pushed a bunch of mud in places, and kind of jacked things up a little bit. You guys had your club tournament, what, like 3 weeks ago now?
Yeah, just over 2 weeks ago.
And that was pretty tough
on Sunday.
Like, you won with 12 pounds. Now you guys aren't like river rats, but how much time did you put in practice for that club tournament?
I went down one day. I went down on Wednesday, and I really thought I'd be able to catch 15 pounds pretty easily of smallies. And it's always tough on the river because the way I look at it down there is, you look at I'm always looking at my ceiling and my floor. What can you catch? Max, and what could you do? And with largemouths, you can have a ceiling of 18, 19 pounds, but you can also blank. And with the smallies, your ceilings, 15, 16 pound bag of smallies is pretty darn good down there. So I went with smallies. I felt like I could catch them and have, a decent finish. And it was really perfect that day. The current was strong, but not crazy. The water was pretty clear. And I was really kind of calling my shots, which is how I like it down there. And then I went down, we got all that rain Saturday night and got down there Sunday morning. And man, some of the toughest summertime conditions on the river is when you got low water that's, it just had come up a little, but it was super fast and it was dirty. And so you just couldn't, the fish's strike zone was so small and the current was moving so fast, you just couldn't keep a bait in front of them. So, I really struggled with what I was doing. And the current was ripping so much, and it was a north wind about 20 miles an hour pushing with the current. So, I was out of trolling motor juice by the end of the day. And it was just that fast, dirty water is just tough on the river.
Yeah, which is better than a south 20-mile wind fighting the current.
Yeah.
That ruins everything. What were you fishing, mostly like sand or main lake or main river rocks, or did you have what kind of stuff are you targeting?
A little bit of everything. I probably fished 40 spots. And it was literally, I just had a whole bunch of different stuff picked out, but most of it was current related. And it could be anything from, rocks, whether it be riprap or wing dams, closing dams, or, even wood laydowns, eelgrass, but it had to have, sand drops. It had to have current around it for what I was doing. But it just, that rain we got the night before, it made it just too fast and too dirty. So, I probably caught 3 limits that day, but it just wasn't anything like when I was down there Wednesday, I could pull up on a spot and literally have a pretty good idea when I was going to get a bite.
Were you dragging or reaction baits or?
Yeah, both. I was throwing a swim jig quite a bit and, throwing a tube. And down there, if you're fishing smallies, that, you don't really need a whole lot more. Right. I went and looked for largemouth that day, and the water was just really low. And I think what happens in those backwaters is when it gets low like that, they pull out. And I really thought someone was going to whack a big bag of largemouth that day because the water came up just overnight. So I thought, well, someone's going to get back in the right area and whack them on a frog. But it was just a tough day.
Sure. AP says, favorite jig worm and thoughts on the Max Scent lunch worm, which I don't know about it. I have to look at it. What's your favorite jig worm?
Man, I got quite a few. It's pretty tough to beat the old school, red shad 7-inch power worm. But I do throw a 5-inch Senko a lot on the back of my jig worm. And, when I'm fishing these champion tour events, a lot of times I'll throw the Z-Man, the big TRD, only because it's so durable. Once again, it's about being efficient and, not re-rigging all the time. So if I'll just glue up a couple of them ahead of time and, just have them ready. And I can, I may have 2 or 3 and I can fish a whole period with those.
Sure. That actually looks pretty interesting. You look at that thing. It's like a combination of a ringworm and an old power worm in max set.
Huh.
Might have to check that out. That could be a whitefish killer.
Yeah.
But I would say, yeah, for me, a lot of times it's a dinger, just a stick worm. Like that's probably my go-to jig worm. I used to throw a lot of the power worms and some of that stuff, but I would say I probably day in and day out just kind of lean on that stick worm. You guys ever fish out by the Spicer area? Every once in a while, that Fish Green, a few other lakes, it's pretty good. There's a lot of great lakes out there. Any thoughts, Tad?
Yeah, I fished Green quite a bit. I fished the Horseshoe Chain. I just fished this year for the first time Washington Stella. Now, when we fished it, it was literally blowing 30. But yeah. I went up there the Monday before. It was pretty windy that day too, but that day I would have had, probably a 20-pound bag with a 5.5 pounder.
Nice. Green, brown, mixed.
Both, yeah. I had the 5.5 was a largemouth, and then, but it seemed like the better average fish were smallies out there. So tournament, it was just I threw a chatterbait and a rattle trap all day because it was just so windy. But I mean, there's a ton of potential out there. There's some really good lakes.
Yeah, between like the west side of Minnetonka out to Wilmer and Litchfield and all, just so many good lakes. Like, kind of jealous, not gonna lie. Any tips for fishing a beginner? So, like you work with the high school teams. What are some of your tips you give to young anglers?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is, the more you're out there just experimenting with stuff, just get out there and try it. I mean, you can watch videos, you can read articles, but the biggest thing is gaining confidence. And the only way you gain confidence is getting bites, doing something. And I mean, that's something even people that do it all the time, I think sometimes fight with. If you don't have confidence in what you're doing, you just don't catch them,
Yeah, I would say, yeah, absolutely. Time on the water. Try to get in a club, a junior club, something that's going to get you on the water with new people. Like, it's great fishing with your dad. It's great fishing with your uncle. It's great fishing with your buddy. But try to fish with as many people as possible. Try to wiggle your way onto anybody's boat or go out with anybody you can, whether it's from shore or whatever. Keep it simple. Like, buy yourself a 50-pack of green pumpkin dingers, and you can Texas rig it. You can weightless. You can whack it. You can put it on a jig worm. You know what I mean? Like, don't get too caught up.
Carolina rig. Yep.
Carolina rig it. Like, you can do just about anything with a few basic baits. And fish things that get bit, like dingers and baby brush hogs and Ned rigs and like things that you just, are going to get bit. And subscribe to HellaBass's YouTube channel and watch all his videos. But yeah, time on the water and have fun. Any tips for Gull Lake and Brainerd? Well, as we mentioned before, you won the Champions Tour 3 years ago on Gull Lake and caught, I don't know, like 70, 80, 90 pounds of bass in a day or something crazy like that. What are your Gull Lake tips?
Gull's a cool lake because you can do a lot of different stuff. You can fish the main lake. You can go up to, all the way up to Nisswa. Especially in the summer, I'm always typically offshore looking for, schools of bass where you can catch a whole bunch of numbers. Jig worm, drop shot. But it's also a lake you can get up shallow and, you can flip reeds and flip foil and pads and docks. And I mean, it's one of those, throw a frog. You can do that stuff all year up there.
Yeah.
Or all summer at least.
Yeah, I'd say a couple things. Like, chase the wind and the reeds if you like fishing shallow down in like below Squaw Point, right? Like Wilson and Steamboat.
Wilson.
You
Yep.
breeds, that's a pretty good bite. Spinnerbait and a worm, right? Like, or a jig. Hop around there, but otherwise, get out on the weed edges and throw a jig worm, flip a Texas rig. There's a lot of options, and when you find them on Gull, you usually catch multiple bass. So, and to me, Gull Lake water is reasonably clear, and the grass grows up pretty tall. You can visually fish a lot of the weed lines there without needing fancy electronics. Wouldn't you agree? Like, especially in the now, when you get up in Nisswa and stuff, some of that stuff gets a little harder to see because it's a little greener water and you may not be able to see it. But down in the lower end, you can almost just like see the weed edge, back off a decent cast, and just cast to the edge and work that jig worm or whatever you want. So, and that can definitely build you some confidence on fishing deep for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, when you find one there, doing that, there's usually a bunch of them.
Yeah. PB bass. What's your PB, Tad?
So I've got 3 of them that are basically just over 7 pounds, and one of them was on Pryor, one was on a little lake in town, and then the other one was in Texas on Sam Rayburn. But they were all basically just over 7 pounds.
Sure. Yeah, my PB overall is like 8 pounds 3 ounces on Amistad, and my Minnesota PB is 7 1/4. So, what's up, Rattle Trap Fishing? Any other questions for Tad or I? We've been going almost an hour, not quite. If you guys want, you can follow. I mean, best place to follow Tad is on Instagram at TadJohnson15, right? Anywhere else?
Yep.
That's where you post most of your stuff, right? Other than Facebook, but
yeah, yep.
So you're gonna be posting like stories and excerpts from the Champions Tour on Friday and keeping us in the loop, or?
Well, I'll be able to once it's done, but during, I don't know if we can during.
I think you can at the break, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to check with them.
So Landon says, is Nisswa and Roy worth a Troy?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Pretty sure that's one of those 2 lakes is where you whacked a giant school of bass to start out the tournament.
Yeah, that's where I basically got my big lead. Was people, I took a big risk by going all the way up there, because by the time I got up there, guys already had 15 pounds on the board. But I had a school where literally within the first hour I had, 40 pounds.
Yeah.
So no, they're really good lakes. It's just, if you're in a tournament, you got to take into factor the time it takes to get there. If you're just going fun fishing.
Definitely. Tournaments too, but it's a little more high risk, high reward going up there, because if they're not there, it's hard to recover sometimes. And I think just fishing up there, when you find them, you really find them because they can wad up. But you don't just catch as many fish just fishing along, I don't think, up in those smaller lakes. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Out in the main lake, you can just kind of go fishing and run into them, and it's a little more key areas, I think, in those the dirtier lakes.
Yeah, for sure. I had that school. I caught one just about every cast for an hour and a half. It was something like I've never seen.
What local tournaments am I fishing? I don't know. I'm not in any right now. I got the state tournament and the regional tournament coming up. If I see something and I got a weekend, I might try to jump in something. But at this point, I'm not in anything. My favorite lure rattle trap is a 3/8 or ½ ounce Bass Tech tungsten jig and Okie craw, for sure. Some of the hook setters want to know what's your plan for Lura.
So, I've never been there.
Okay, as I say, you haven't fished it at all.
What's that?
So you haven't fished it at all.
No, I haven't been there. We don't go there till October. That's the last tournament of the year for the hook setters. Right now, I happen to be leading the points, so it's a big one. And supposedly that place is a fish factory. Giant bags. 20+
big
pound
fish
bags.
factory. I don't know that it's a numbers factory.
Yeah, big ones. 20-pound bags. you know, flipping, throwing frog, doing all that stuff I like to do. So I'm excited to go down there and check it out. I mean,
But you also see guys like with 3 fish for 12 pounds.
yeah. Yeah. I
Like-
mean, I know, I see, you know, Howie, his Southern Bass Tour, they go down there every year and just light them up.
Or 2 fish for 9 pounds, or, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to go down there and check it out. It's a ways out. So, I mean, we're done with the club until literally October now. So,
Nice. They're just going to sit on that lead till October.
right.
Logan says, Rich, are you going to fish another tourney with Sobe? I'd like to. I tried to text him today to see what he was doing this weekend, but he big timed me. So feel free to go on Instagram and tag him and ask him why he won't respond to my texts. How do you find local tourneys? There's a couple places. I'd say one good place is go on to Facebook and join Minnesota Bass Heads group. That's a good place to find tournaments. Omnia Fishing has some listings. There's another website that I had found. I don't have it here. Oh, right here. Let me see here. I found this one. Be patient. I'll bring it up here in a moment. Share. All right. This BassTL.com, which is not showing up real great right now. Oh, come on. Is it loading? Come on. I don't know. I was looking at this earlier, and they did have quite a few. It's for some reason hard to read right now, but they have a lot of tournaments. You have to take my word for it, because it's really hard to read on this black and white screen. I don't know. So it's acting goofy right now, but BassTL.com has a bunch of Minnesota tournaments on it. There's a couple options for you guys. How do you find local tournaments, Tad?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Bass Heads is a big, you know, on Facebook. If you go to the Bass Heads, you know, Minnesota Bass Heads, it's a good page to follow. There's, you know, tons of updates on there, and then, yeah, just talking to buddies.
For show. That's how you get in those like little sneaky like Saturday jackpot tournaments. Is like, oh, I heard this or I saw a flyer.
Right. Yeah, there's actually one up here on Sunday.
What?
That a bunch of the guys. There's one up here on Sunday on Vermillion that a bunch of the guys from the Champions Tour are gonna all jump in, I guess.
Nice. I thought you were saying there's one in the cities on Sunday. I was like, really?
Yeah, so I got to get home. I'm only gonna be home for a week, and then we're gonna be gone for 2 more. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to lay low this weekend, but if I can get a little local derb for a few hours, just kind of keep the pump prime this weekend, that would be decent.
They're still doing the Thursday nighters on them prior.
Ugh, nobody else to fish prior. The place is garbage.
Man, they're catching them this year out there.
Here's the thing. I haven't fished prior in probably 15 years, so
The biggest problem now is the surfing boats. They're out of control.
So here's the thing: is like I don't like jumping in leagues on Tonka and prior with people that have been fishing it every night for 10 years when I haven't been out there in 15. I don't mind in a local lake that I haven't practiced, but I don't want to get on where it's like the same guys fishing the same event for, you know, every week. Like that's.
Yeah.
You ever fish Round Lake in Gull Chain? Yeah, it's a good lake too. When the tournaments permit you to go there, I would say somebody usually finishes in the top 5, if not wins it out of round.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of tournaments they cut it off limits, but yeah, it's I love fishing Round. I mean, you know, a lot of people go in there thinking, you know, just smallies, but there's some really good largemouth in there too.
Oh yeah, I've always caught mostly largemouth for sure, and some big walleyes fishing for largemouth too on Jig Worms.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got, you know, there's some sneaky good reeds and rocks. There's some good offshore stuff.
Yeah, the biggest thing is when you're idling in, you got to be careful. You don't suck up a bunch of sand in your motor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well, the new Vexus should be sweet for getting in and out around, right? I assume that thing gets
Yeah.
pretty
Oh yeah. Yeah.
hydraulic on that too.
What's that?
You have a hydraulic jack plate too.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I would say the biggest excuses are probably for Thursday nights is my kids' stupid sports every week. So that's what keeps me out of most. I honestly wish if I would have known COVID was going to ruin everything all spring, I would have jumped in a Tuesday night league. But by the time I realized my kids didn't have sports, then they were all full. So
Yeah.
and I'm like my work travel and like my kids stuff is just like weeknight stuff is just almost never happens. So
I've only fished. Me and Lori, like, hardly even get to fish any of the Thursday nighters now.
so busy.
Yeah.
Too busy cooking on your Traeger or what? All right. Anything else you wanted to cover, Tad? With anything new, anything exciting, anything you're working on, anything cool?
No, that's about it, man. Just gonna get to bed here shortly and get up and start again tomorrow and hopefully find some more bass.
So you got a short day tomorrow, right? Like only 10 hours.
Yeah, we're gonna put in at the casino in the morning because that's where the meeting is. And up here, you have to get your boat inspected before the tournament, and they got to sign off on a paper for you. So then that way, I'll just pull the boat out, do all my rigging in the parking lot, and the meeting's at 5:15. Then after that, we'll just eat at the casino and then come back here.
So somebody wants to see the jig worm that I throw. Chris Oberhofer. So my typical jig worm is a 3/16 or 1/8 ounce Bass Tech tungsten head. It's kind of got a hybrid football head with a keeper on it with a pretty decent hook. You can see that real well. It's kind of got a hook that probably rivals the all-terrain bitey jig. Pretty solid hook, much bigger than like a money jig. I like 1/8 and 3/16. I don't really stray too much on either one of those. And I like the tungsten for the feel. Sometimes I'll paint the heads chartreuse. I've seen Tad with a chartreuse jig head on his jig worm before.
Every once in a while.
Once in a while. But otherwise, I usually rig that on, I think I got one just laying in a box somewhere here. I cut off, maybe? No? Thought I did. Oh, yeah. But typically for me, it's going to have some kind of stick worm, some kind of straight tail. This is like a little mini pocket rocket, which is a little different. But something like that, I keep it pretty simple. Dinger, a Senko, trick worm, something like that. Sometimes I used to throw a lot more like curly tails and stuff, but I don't do that a lot anymore. Any different for you, Tad, jig worms?
No, pretty much the same. Every once in a while, I will throw, like even up here, I'll throw a hula grub on there. But
That's not a jig worm if it's a hula grub.
But when I can, I like throwing a Senko on there just because it falls. You can launch them and they fall just straight down. They fall quick. But there's just times that curly tail is tough to beat.
Yeah. Landon said they fish Margaret. Yeah, Margaret is like feast or famine in my like.
Yeah.
You go there and you catch. Well, you might go in there and catch like one or two good ones, or you'll crush them. But it's a weird little lake, and tournaments get one out of there. But there's also a lot of guys that catch them in practice and they go in there and they vanish on them. So
I've probably the two biggest bass I've caught on that lake have come out of Margaret. But once again, it's if I'm going to fish a 5-fish tournament, I'm probably not even going to practice in there. I'm just going to go in and hit a couple key areas in the tournament and hope to catch one.
You're going to get your decent bag and you're like, okay, I need a kicker.
Yeah.
I'll make that swing through Margaret and see if magic will happen.
Right.
Dylan Ross says, what's the next best finesse technique? Other than a jig, I don't know. Like, I mean, right now drop shot's good, Nico's good, Ned's good. Like those are all hard to beat for finesse.
You know, split shot rig can be pretty overlooked.
Yeah. That's a thing that I used to throw a ton. I used to mojo rig a ton, and I have not been doing it lately, where I would usually just peg like an 1/8 or a 3/16 ounce tungsten weight, like 18 inches in front of an EWG hook, light wire. Used to catch them on that. I just don't do it a lot. So the squirrel tail. I used to have a few bags of the squirrel tail. Those weird colored ones, I feel like the perch and the bluegills would not leave them alone on our Minnesota lakes with that little weird tail, and I didn't like it. Chad wants to know, how's your son doing with his service commitment?
Oh, he's doing awesome, man. Thanks for asking. He's I was able to FaceTime with him yesterday. Me and Lori got to FaceTime with him up here, which was pretty cool because we haven't got to go to his graduation or when he got his infantry blue cord and due to COVID. So, and normally he'd get to come home for a week after that, and he wasn't able to do that. But yeah, he's doing really good. He's we're awfully proud of him.
Nice. Cool. It's probably safer there than is at home with all the crazy stuff going around here.
I know.
All right. Well, this has been good. Yeah, we just over an hour. I feel like things are kind of chilling out. I think we covered a lot of ground. We'll let you get some sleep. You're going to probably get up, crack dawn early tomorrow. It gets light up there pretty early, so we'll let you lock down like one or two Budweisers and be ready for bed. And I'll see you up at Whitefish, hopefully. Not on my spot.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good, buddy. Good talking to you. And yeah, if you guys want to follow along at classicbass.com or go to the LiveWell app, you can follow along on Friday. It's real-time scoring. So check it out. Thanks for having me, Rich. Good to see you.
Yeah, so if you want to take a slight break from the Champlain Elite Series and watching Seth probably crush him flipping a jig and milfoil, you can check in on Tad and the boys as well. So a couple of guys are saying good luck. Smoke them up there. Hopefully you have a good derby. Hopefully you use up all your mojo and then you don't have any left for Whitefish. So.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
As always, thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. If you missed the first part of this, you can go back and watch the replay. I'll also have an audio version, which I'll drop a link in tomorrow. So if you want to listen to the soothing tones of Tad Johnson in your earbuds while you exercise or walk your dog or drive to the next tournament, that'll be available. And as you can follow me along at HellaBass. And as always, here to help you catch more bass and suck less.